got transport car. Hey, Lewis, your car, right? I mean, to the right over there, that car.
Since the inauguration of President Donald Trump on the 20th of January 2025, the US crackdown on undocumented migrants has led to more than 3,500 arrests. In the very first week of his return to the White House, President Donald Trump set in motion immigration promises that go back to his first term. His administration has sent troops to the US-Mexico border and used military aircraft to repatriate recent border crossers, people it calls illegal aliens.
We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the
Trump also signed an executive order that seeks to repurpose Guantanamo Bay into a detention center for unauthorized immigrants. The administration is now drawing up plans to expand the government's holding capacity. Debates around immigration have dominated US politics in recent years. Trump has vowed to carry out the largest deportation in American history. Will Trump's plans for large-scale detention and deportation take off? How will President Trump's orders affect undocumented immigrants? What are their stories? How will the orders impact Indian nationals seeking entry into the US? And what will the economic fallout be of these actions? All these and more on this episode of WION Wideangle. Since the 2nd of February, hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets to rally against the crackdown on immigrants. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, an agency within the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, has been on overdrive. Videos online showed demonstrators marching onto the 101 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, temporarily shutting it down. Some protesters were seen spraying graffiti on freeway walls and vandalizing a car caught in the crowd. Police officers engaged in a tense standoff with demonstrators. This one was part of a wave of protests that erupted in several cities. Thousands gathered along Buford Highway in Atlanta, Georgia, marching, chanting, and holding banners after the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement announced what it called targeted operations in the city. In Texas, hundreds participated in protests in downtown Dallas against arrests made by ICE. Aerial footage from LA showed dozens of protesters carrying Mexican, Guatemalan, and Salvadorian flags blocking a street intersection. Visuals also show LA police scattering the protest. These demonstrations underscore growing opposition to Trump's aggressive immigration policies. ICE has arrested over 7,400 undocumented immigrants across the U.S. within 9 days. Nearly 6,000 detainers have also been issued.
My grandmother came over here a long time ago when she was pregnant with my mom illegally to give all of our generations a better life, and her fight is the reason I get the American dream. And I want Donald Trump to stop mass deportations now, leave children alone, stay out of schools, stay out of places of worship and holy spaces, and just leave the people alone.
The reason for our presence this afternoon is to support our Latino and immigrant brothers, to support them most of all against the crazy ideas of our current president. We are good people, we are hardworking people, we are people who came to support the country.
Apoyar el país también.
Protests are being staged in cities across the United States of America as part of the nationwide Day Without Immigrants movement. The campaign is aimed at condemning President Trump's mass deportation plan. The protests highlight the critical contributions of immigrant labor, hope to draw attention to the ongoing struggles of immigrant communities. 20-year-old Melanie brought her younger brother with her to a protest near Trump Tower in downtown Chicago, Illinois, to show support for people like her parents who are undocumented immigrants.
They told us no school, no shopping, don't go to work. We're like, okay, you know what? I told my brothers not to go to school, and I told them you're gonna come with me and we're gonna protest, so here we are right now. On the other side, I have like Immigrants Built America, because who's the one who does your crops? It's immigrants. They're the ones in the fields. Who picks up your trash? It's immigrants. They're the ones that are cleaning out the offices, the bathrooms, everywhere you work. They're the ones that clean up. They're not the ones that are sitting in an office desk doing paperwork. They're the ones behind everything.
Businesses across the U.S. closed their doors on the 3rd of February as part of a Day Without Immigrants. The protest was aimed at highlighting the role immigrants play in the nation's economy. The movement urged workers to stay home and consumers to refrain from shopping for the day, while some businesses fear potential financial losses. Many owners believe the long-term message is worth the short-term sacrifice.
We are hard workers. Me, as a daughter of an immigrant, born and raised in Puerto Rico, I'm here supporting my community. Closing today to the favor and to be gratitude and say thank you for all the immigrants that are going out, don't having fear, don't having any scare, and still working and still supporting our community.
As protests unfold, supporters hope it will lead to broader discussions on immigration policies and protection of workers. Can Trump realistically deport millions of undocumented immigrants?
What we are looking at is in terms of billions of dollars that it costs United States to, first of all, have the staff trained and ready to apprehend the undocumented migrants that are present in the country. This would lead to a tremendous increase in the ICE force. And that not only costs time, but it also costs a lot of money. In 2024, Congress has provided funding for to detain approximately 41,500 non-citizens, and the funding for that was $3.4 billion, right? But that is only for less than 500,000. So think about it. If you do the math, just times 10 of that, what does it mean in terms of the billions of dollars that would actually cost the American taxpayers? And that also needs to be approved by Congress.
Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo.
President Trump also signed a memorandum directing the federal government to prepare the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to house tens of thousands of migrants. Trump's announcement came as he signed the Laken-Riley Act into law. So what is the Laken-Riley Act? Where is Guantanamo Bay located? And what are Trump's plans for this detention space? Let's find out. The Laken-Riley Act is a bill that was passed by the Republican majority Congress and signed into law by Trump. The Laken-Riley Act mandates the federal detention of illegal immigrants who are accused of theft, burglary, and any crime that causes death or serious bodily injury. The act is named after a 22-year-old nursing student who was murdered on the University of Georgia campus in February last year. An undocumented immigrant, Jose Antonio Ibarra from Venezuela, was found guilty of her killing. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The detention center is on the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base on the eastern tip of Cuba. It is about 800 kilometers southeast of Florida. Guantanamo Bay Military Prison was opened in January 2002 on a U.S. naval base. The detention facility was set up after the September 11 attacks in 2001 under the administration of then-President George W. Bush to deal with prisoners who were termed enemy combatants and denied many U.S. legal rights. Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden both sought to close the facility, but Congress has opposed efforts to shutter Guantanamo, and it remains open to this day. As of January 6, 2025, 15 prisoners remain in Guantanamo Bay after most people in the prison were released, having never been charged with any crime, and repatriated to their home countries or third countries over the years. According to Trump, the facility will double the capacity to hold undocumented migrants. The U.S. has already been using a facility in Guantanamo, known as the Guantanamo Migrant Operations Center, or GMOC, for decades, and through various administrations, both Republican and Democrat. In a 2024 report, the government was accused of secretly holding migrants there in inhumane conditions after detaining them at sea. News of the facility's expansion was met with condemnation by the Cuban government, which has long considered Guantanamo Bay to be occupied and has denounced the existence of a U.S. naval base on the island.
Inaceptable es la deportación violenta e indiscriminada.
For Cuba, the violent and indiscriminate deportation of migrants by the United States, arbitrary detentions, and other human rights violations are unacceptable. These measures are also used as a political pressure and blackmail weapon against the peoples of our America. The establishment of a detention center at the American naval base in Guantanamo, where it is intended to imprison tens of thousands of people, constitutes a barbaric act. It is also a threat to the national security of Cuba and the sub-region. It is a military enclave occupying a portion of Cuban territory against the will of our people and our nation.
Guantanamo Bay has been quite a controversial site for very many years. First of all, because it's not on a U.S. territory. This is a prison that is on the Cuban land and has been used by the United States to send very dangerous criminals, the so-called terrorists. And in doing so, United States has been escaping a lot of the legal system that exists in the United States. Therefore, sending them to Guantanamo Bay might be a way in which will be a blind spot for the legal system and for migrants to receive their legal rights while they're present on another territory.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Immediately after Trump took office, he scrapped the Customs and Border Protection, or CBP-1, smartphone app, which migrants were able to use to schedule appointments with U.S. Border Patrol agents. The CBP-1 app was launched by the Biden administration as a way to organize and streamline the entry of migrants who are fleeing prosecution. 30,000 people were reportedly stranded inside Mexico since the app was taken down, all of them with scheduled appointments that were cancelled. About 270,000 migrants were estimated to be on the Mexican side of the border, waiting to get appointments through the app. Trump's order was met with disbelief and anguish by thousands of migrants who traveled to the border and had waited months to secure those appointments.
The truth is that with the thing of President Donald Trump closing the doors, we are all stuck. Everyone, because all doors have been closed for us everywhere. Now there are persecutions everywhere. You can't move from one place to another as you did before. Not anymore, because they chase you. Immigration authorities are looking for you everywhere. So right now we have children, a lot of family, and it has been very difficult to get here. It's very difficult.
We only ask for an opportunity for those who already have an appointment. We need a transit permit to continue fighting from there. It's a hard trip. We had to go through the jungle where we were robbed and went through so many things to get this answer. I think it's unfair.
This leaves me in complete uncertainty. Our CBP-1 appointment was approved and we had already bought tickets. We have children with us. We sacrificed a lot to buy the tickets. We understand this is not Mexico's fault. It's a decision Trump made, but they should do something with people who have the tickets, who have CBP-1 appointment.
Meanwhile, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum advised migrants to return to their home countries.
Once they arrive at the southern border, they won't be able to reach the United States. It's better for them to return to their countries.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum announced that her country has received an estimated 4,094 people deported from the United States in the week since Donald Trump took office there. Experts say with CBP's removal, there is now no practical pathway to protection for arriving migrants.
A study after study keeps on telling us that migrants, especially undocumented migrants, have a very low rate of committing crimes within the United States. They tend to be very law-abiding people who are keeping a very low profile in their host country, hoping to get a better life, and therefore, comparing to the natives, studies are telling us that they have about 60% less chances to ever be convicted of a crime, including petty theft or even crossing the street on the red light. That much of a little crime is less to be committed by the so-called undocumented migrants. So, while this is definitely framed as a national security issue, it is not a national security issue as the data is showing.
U.S. President Donald Trump won the recent election on the promise of cracking down on illegal immigration. Trump has been vigorously pursuing this since he took office. A mass deportation of illegal immigrants to different countries, including India, is currently underway. On the 5th of February, a United States military plane, C-17 aircraft carrying 104 Indian nationals, landed in Amritsar in the Indian state of Punjab. The use of military planes for deportation is unusual in the United States. These aircraft are typically reserved for war zones and disaster relief. They are also very expensive. The US usually carries out deportations on commercial charters that look like regular commercial planes and are operated by US Customs and Immigration Enforcement, or ICE. While these planes are still ferrying illegal immigrants out, they have received less attention than the huge, imposing military C-17s. Then why does the Trump administration use them? How much does one deportation flight on a military plane cost? Let's look at the numbers. According to Reuters, a recent 10-hour military deportation flight to Guatemala likely cost at least $4,675 per migrant. That is more than 5 times the $853 cost of a one-way first-class ticket on American Airlines for the same route. If these military flights come with a staggering price tag, then why is Trump using them?
We're tracking down the illegal alien criminals. We're detaining them, and we are throwing them the hell out of our country. We have no apologies, and we're moving forward very fast. They're very dangerous people.
Trump has frequently termed illegal immigrants as aliens and criminals who have invaded America. Visuals of immigrants being loaded onto military planes seem to be part of the message that Trump is tough on such crimes. This large-scale deportation underscores the US government's firm stance on border enforcement and is expected to impact thousands of Indian nationals residing illegally in the country. As of November 2024, a staggering 20,407 undocumented Indians are reported to be facing deportation proceedings in the United States. These individuals are either under final removal orders or detained in ICE facilities at this point in time. Of this total, 17,940 Indians are not in detention, but have been issued final removal orders, which means their deportation is imminent. The number of undocumented Indian immigrants in the United States is disputed. However, new data from Pew Research Center estimates 725,000 people as of 2022, making them the third largest group after Mexico and El Salvador. India's position on illegal immigration has not changed. The Indian government has made it clear that US is willing to accept deported nationals from the US provided their citizenship is verified.
With every country, and the US is no exception, we have always taken the view that if there are any of our citizens who are not here legally, if we are sure that they are our citizens, we've always been open to their legitimate return to India.
Indian Prime Minister Modi will visit the US for a 2-day trip starting February 12. Modi will reportedly hold talks with the US President.
Indian migrants are not a coherent group within the United States in terms of their social, economic, educational background. There are very many migrants in the United States who come from India who are in the 1% of the country. They are one of the most successful migrants in terms of education, in terms of income, in terms of labor production within the United States. We might be able to see a new negotiation of those type of labor to address the labor shortages that Indian immigrants could be very much supplementing to the United States.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear that I will...
Just over a week into his second administration, US President Donald Trump has set out to fulfill his election promises. Trump declared a national emergency, signed an array of executive orders, sent 1,500 active duty troops to the US-Mexico border, and initiated raids on tens of thousands of migrants across the nation. In all of this, his anti-immigration orders have had the most visible impact on the streets, as millions of migrants are suddenly being whisked away. It remains to be seen what impact this mass deportation will have on the US economy and international politics.